I think this thing is over. I think the Knicks might win at the Garden, but I don't think it goes much further than that. And it's real simple. Knicks just don't have enough ways to score. And you say Julius Randle. Julius Randle has struggled. He has struggled against the length of the Hawks, but more importantly, he struggled against the defensive game plan of Nate McMillan. The ability when Julius Randle catches the ball in the wing, they are absolutely loading the box. They're adding an extra defender to defend him. They're pushing him, keeping him on the sidelines, and when he drives at baseline, all right, basically they're covering the elbows and the blocks on the ball side and shrinking on the weak side. He's playing basically 1 against 2.5, and he's not that type of player. Well, why is he playing 1 against 2.5? Because the Knicks just don't have enough floor gamers, playmakers, and shot makers. That's just the way it is. All right, Derrick Rose has been terrific. All right, absolutely terrific. Name me another guy that can go get a shot on this Knicks team. What Tibbs has done with this team has been incredible. They have defended. They have shared the ball. They've either got to play ahead of the defense, because once that defense gets set, they can't score in any type of isolation against that defense. There's a big difference between playing in the regular season and then playing in the playoffs when you're playing game after game after game and you've got a focal point in terms of your game planning. The Knicks are in trouble. They need floor gamers, shot makers. Rose has been terrific. But I really like this Atlanta Hawks team. I think the DNA and the makeup of their team is really good. And Trae Young has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's that old Bill Parcells thing, like, don't tell me about the pain, just show me the baby. I get it that they're overloading the box on Julius Randle, but Julius Randle played like a superstar all year, and the guys around him made shots. And, okay, they're going to load the box against you. Figure it out. And produce, because the Knicks were arguably the best defensive team in the league this past year. They can't stop Trae Young. They're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Trae Young. They can't keep him out of the paint. So he's figuring it out. To me, if you're Julius Randle and you want to be thought of as one of those guys, you got to figure it out and figure out a way to produce even when the going gets tough.
Yeah, the going gets tough. First of all, Trae Young, I think they've got to flat just blitz him. I mean, when I say blitz him, I mean all-out blitz him. Get the ball out of his hands early, and then get that thing spinning and playing rotation, because if he keeps his dribble alive, all right, he sees all 5 defenders. And when he sees all 5 defenders, if they keep him, and what they've been trying to do is down him or push him weak to his left hand, he's got the runner. If the big steps up, he's thrown it to the dunker spot. Or if they shrink off the weak side because they're playing on an empty side, he's skipping it out and they're knocking down threes. If he can keep his dribble alive, the Knicks have issues. Get the ball out of his hands. The earlier, the better. And obviously, you got to meet him early in transition. The other thing is that his maturity right now is phenomenal. The poise and the patience that he plays with is just incredible. I mean, his feel, you've seen him grow as an NBA player. You knew he did those things as a college player. He had great vision. But as an NBA player, he's not forcing anything. He's playing at his own pace. Julius Randle's not that type of player, Bob. I mean, that's just the way it is. He's not that type of player. Can he play against the one-on-one isolation? Yes, he can. But you know what? You also have to have complementary players. People forget he had double-digit rebounds yesterday. He had 7 assists yesterday. But he's not scoring over an extra defender. So what has to happen is you've got to make them pay. It's not him as much, although he has to be able to finish around the basket. He missed a couple there. It's when that thing gets kicked out, that second pass, that guy's got to make a play. That first pass, that guy's got to make a play. And the ball's getting stuck. They're playing on the sidelines too much. I'm really surprised they're not trying to play more in the shoot in the middle of the floor, because once it gets to the sidelines, it's obviously easier to establish your defensive principles.
Yeah, you hit on it at the beginning. We've been talking so much about the Knicks being a letdown. But, I mean, is Atlanta better than their seed? Like, if Atlanta advances, which it looks like they will, are they a factor? Can they make life difficult for a Philadelphia or a Milwaukee or a Brooklyn?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think they are a factor. They've got good length. They have legitimate defenders. I mean, you know, you think about Hunter, legitimate defender. Capella protects the rim. You know, the one suspect defender, obviously, is Trae. I think that Bogdanović makes shots. If you look at the makeup of this team, all right, you got a dynamic guard that can get in the lane, make plays, sees the floor, stretches the defense. All right, you got that. You've got a guy that can play behind the defense in terms of in the dunker spot, playing a ball screen, rim run. You've got short rollers, all right, in Collins who can short roll and pass it pretty good, also score it. You got guys coming off the bench that can make shots. I think defensively, I think Nate McMillan's done it. He's a terrific coach. The guy's won everywhere. You know, he's struggled in the playoffs, but he's won everywhere he's been. And you can see these guys are playing for him. These guys are a problem. Unless you can contain the ball, they're going to score. If you can't contain the basketball off all those slot and middle ball screens, he's going to read your coverage. He has a solution for what you're going to do, and they've got players around him, and that's the difference between him and the Knicks. The players around him actually fit. They can play off of what he does well. And again, Bob, there's a difference between a forward as a point forward per se, which Julius Randle is not, and a guy who starts with the ball in his hands, who now all of a sudden is a facilitator and a scorer, and, oh, by the way, has logo range. There's a difference in terms of the versatility of that type of player. I think the Hawks are for real, and I think that they know they're for real in terms of the way they carry themselves. They've got a little swag to them that I don't care who they're going to play against. They might a little bit be this year's Nuggets.